Zen. Hey guys, it's Tatum here. Welcome to episode 1 with Give and Take with Tay. I have a very special guest with me. Tanisha, how are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Yeah, good. Welcome to the episode 1. Finally, we're both sitting here. What has it been like growing up in Australia?
I think we're very lucky to be in a place like this. Australia is amazing. I can't think of, anything negative really. I think coming from a Greek background, we have so much cultural diversity here, and I think coming from a Greek background, and I wasn't English speaking to start off with as well, being integrated into an English speaking school, you kind of start picking up other people's cultural diversities, and I think there is a little bit of a pressure sometimes when you're a certain nationality to kind of stick with that stereotype. But personally for me, I really wanted to branch out and just make, friends of all nationalities.
Did you, so you're coming from a Greek background, living obviously Greek family, all that kind of thing. Did you struggle with having a Greek stereotype?
Absolutely.
What was that like for you?
It was a little bit lonely at times. I think because people, you do band together with that, and a lot of people do conform to stereotypes. Everyone is individual, but I think it is easier to stick with the flock because it's safe. And I think, starting high school and things like that, and not wanting to be that, I did kind of receive a bit of a backlash. From, it was a little bit lonely because I felt like I didn't have my group. And I still kind of feel like that. I've still always kind of felt like I've been floating because I try and,
try to be as open as possible.
Absolutely.
Kind of with everything, as well as keeping your culture, supporting that, because that is who you are. It's the truth. It's how you grow up. You grow up with this beautiful family orientated.
Exactly. And it's so important to keep that. It is so important, but
definitely.
it's where, we're in Australia, it's diversity, and it's so important to learn and pick up things from different groups of people. So I found that I've always kind of floated around, and I never really had a group. But that's kind of a beautiful thing in its own way as well.
It taught you a bit of independence.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, moving forward, what were the hardest challenges you faced growing up? Was that one of them, or was there a little bit more?
I think that was a little bit one of them, because we do try and find who we are within a social dynamic, and I never really settled with anything. And so, now out of school, it's not as difficult, but in high school, when that's kind of everything, that was a bit difficult.
High school was crazy.
High school is insane.
I swear 1 year you're a punk, and then the next year you're just, I don't know, some heavy metal, and then the next year you're just constantly changing.
And you always try and find where you are within a social dynamic, and if you don't find it, you do feel lonely and you do feel lost. And being Greek, people would, you're Greek, I would have had no clue. And it's why? Just because I don't dress this way, I don't speak this way, there should be no pressure for people to be a certain way based on their culture. I think that's a really silly thing.
What high school did you go to, if you don't mind me asking?
I actually went to Scotch for most of my high school, which was great.
It was good?
I absolutely loved that school.
Scotch College. What's the logo for Scotch?
I believe it's the shield with the lions.
The shield with the lions.
Yeah.
See, that goes a little bit into your,
because it's a Scottish heritage, which is beautiful. And learning about that was also really beautiful. We always had the bagpipes at assembly, and
that's amazing.
It was really, really great.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there weren't actually that many Greek people at Scotch. So,
wow. Okay, so you're at this Scottish, orientated school, pushing that culture there, and so what was your group like? Was there a mixture of people in your group, or were you kind of just everywhere?
I was kind of everywhere. I just kind of floated around. I had a group of, I would have a group of friends, and then I kind of would just kind of go off by myself and hang out in the library, and I would just kind of have other people come up to me, and I was happy to just make friends with really anybody that, was happy to give me the time of day, which I just think is a really great way to be, because you don't feel like you have to conform to like shaping yourself into a certain person.
No restrictions there.
No restrictions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was difficult when social media first came out, because we would be about 12 years old, and growing up and being a kid without ever having to worry about that, and then suddenly this huge thing coming into your life when you're that age.
Boom, there's Snapchat.
Yeah,
Boom,
there's Facebook. Yeah. And it was Facebook at first. That was the biggest thing, and all the kids were trying to get on Facebook. And, you know, no one had ever seen anything like this. So there was cyberbullying, and there was a lot of problems with it, because it was just like this new toy for everybody to play with.
Yeah.
And I found that was probably my biggest issue growing up.
Yeah.
Was trying to find myself within that, because I wanted to capitalize on it. You know, I wanted to get gratification from social media. I wanted likes on Facebook. I wanted people to think I was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't feel very cool in school, so I thought, I'll use this. Will be, you know,
this is another way.
This is another way. I'll make myself with this, and it just kind of did backlash. People, again, lots of cyberbullying. People knew who I was all of a sudden when, you know, I would go to places, and I was still a kid at 13, 14.
Yeah.
And it was really scary, and I found that it did take a huge toll on my self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like from remembering that, you know, they had the likes, that came with the shares, it came with all these little modifications to be able to use a platform.
Yeah.
And because we were so young, obviously, like growing up through adolescence with this, you know, the psychological effects on kids, it still hasn't been, you know, it's still developing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're only 20.
It moves faster than, yeah.
Exactly. And so, growing up with that, not being able to have a voice outside of that realm, but suddenly being able to.
Yeah.
It's like opening up a can of worms to just everything, like pros and cons of that.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I remember I posted a singing video when I was about 14, and it kind of, I think just because Facebook was so new and everyone was on it, it blew up a little bit, and I received a lot of, you know, negativity, and people were posting statuses, and it made me really afraid to put myself out there, which is something that I still battle with today with social media. It does kind of scare me. Yeah. And I do get afraid of putting myself out there. Yeah. Yeah.
See, I feel like a lot of people would struggle with that, because if you had a talent, or if it's an upcoming developing talent or a secret talent, whatever you have, and being able to post these things online, it's great because, you know, it creates a whole new community that, you know, you could form with, meet, and start practicing stuff. Like there's so much good to it, but as soon as, you know, it doesn't reach a standard of likes, or it doesn't, I don't know, maybe it's not in the 3 digits, it's only got 28 likes, you're kind of like, oh wow, is it even worth it?
You feel like you kind of failed or something. As if there was no point other than for the attention. Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing to bring up, Tanisha, because especially with like everything that's going on today. Yeah. We're starting to see how bad it is for kids with developing anxiety, depression, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's what, like, moving forward in a sense. So you've come through high school, you know, you're still becoming this woman. You're trying to find who you are whilst balancing your culture and, you know, keeping open. Yeah. How did you end up in radio?
I suppose I've always loved performing.
Yeah.
I've always loved to sing and to make music, and after school, I wanted to kind of do that in uni. I was like, I'll do a writing degree, I'll do something creative. Yeah. I love journalism, and so I did that. I studied a Bachelor of Media and Communications, and I ended up doing placement at Fresh, and I just absolutely fell in love with the atmosphere, the environment. And I knew that, you know, even as a volunteer, like I need to continue down this path in some way, because it means a lot to me. Yeah.
100%. Like the day I met you, I was like, oh my God, who is this girl? She's so cool.
We clicked tomorrow.
We clicked straight away. Like, being at Fresh, it's amazing because, like, even it's good because it's good because they bring you in and you feel comfortable. They don't expect you to have that level of skills yet. They don't, they don't put the pressure as much as, I don't know what it's like working at other radio stations, but Fresh is just the best place to start.
Yeah, it is the most welcoming group of people.
Oh, so nice.
And I'm just so grateful that, you know, I had the opportunity to be integrated into it. And I absolutely love it.
It's amazing. Yeah. And what kind of things do you do at Fresh? Like, where are you at? How did you start, change?
So I started doing an internship with integration. So it was very like content marketing. I was doing their social medias for a bit. I was filming some sponsored videos, which was really, really great experience for me. And then that finished, and I just decided I need to stay here. I'm not. You're not.
You've made your
the last
family.
of me. I've made a family, and so I became a volunteer, just like you. And I will be on air hopefully very soon doing the news as well. I've been shadowing for a little bit for a few weeks.
Yeah,
so
that's exciting. I can't wait to see you on the drive shift in the morning. Oh, it's so good. That's amazing. So you started. So now you're going into writing and speaking on air.
Yeah.
So with the background and everything that you have, to be able to incorporate your own news style, what's that like selecting news? Like, are you?
I think we've focused so much on traffic and weather so far, and we've only just kind of started looking at that. That one does make me a little bit nervous because that is more individualistic in a sense of you really curate what you talk about.
Yeah.
But it excites me because I think there's an element of performing there. And I love to perform and I love to do a job justice kind of thing. So it really excites me to be able to report on things. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's good in terms of selecting news. It's obviously you need to take your own bias out of it. You've got to make sure it's timely. You've got to make sure that it's at the demographic fresh target.
Exactly.
The youth, all that kind of stuff. So that's amazing. It's so good that you're in there doing that. It's so
good that you're in there doing it as well.
It's good. Like, it's so good. It's the best place to start with radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so in terms of self-work, how do you maintain balance in your life?
I think for me, it's been hard to maintain balance because my brain probably runs at about 1,000 miles an hour.
Oh, tell me about it.
At all given times. And it's really easy to just stress out about everything that I have to do to shape myself into the person that I want to become. It's like you want to do everything all in one day and it becomes really overwhelming and sometimes you get yourself down about it.
Yeah.
But I think for me, something that I started doing a couple of years ago because I had to was just to really list the things that I prioritize to shape myself into the person that I want to be. We all want to, consume media and we all want to make money and we want to exercise and we want to look good and there's so many things. And for me, I think I had to really keep a diary and just really schedule and plan out my days so that I was improving a little bit each day on the things that really mattered to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best advice that I can give for anybody.
Yeah, just having a structure, a work structure or a schedule that's
absolutely.
It gives you enough time to relax but it also gives you just enough to be able to keep leveling up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you shouldn't, get yourself down if you don't stick to it every day. That's okay. Give yourself time to breathe and none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, it for me that particularly self-improvement and self-work is hard because I get very stressed about everything and I want to be perfect and I want to do everything all at once. And you need to slow down and plan things out and not be so hard on yourself.
Definitely. I think that's a very important aspect that you just stumbled across there because having that standard or that your own representation of perfection, whatever that is to you, it's good because you need to realize that, hey, what is unworkable? You just have to embrace it. You've got to be like, okay,
absolutely.
Look, today's not working out the way I wanted it to, all that kind of thing. And you've just got to, how do you embrace it? Is there something you do? What do you do?
I've become a really big believer in positive affirmations, actually. Sometimes I get very insecure about myself. And I'll literally, it's probably not the healthiest thing, but I'll, get like a texture and I'll write things on my arm.
Yeah.
That just, you know, you don't really believe it at first, but the
Yeah.
more that I kind of look down and I see it, it just kind of reminds me,
Oh, that's amazing.
you know, just things like, you know, if I'm feeling, you know, like I don't feel good about myself in a day, I'll write that I'm beautiful on my arm.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for other people to see, it's just for me. Yeah, I find that positive affirmations have been like the one thing that have really helped.
That's crazy. That's so good. That's awesome that you've found that, because it's good, because it's the truth. Whatever you think, whatever you imagine, you become.
Manifesting is a very real thing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's brought us both here.
Yeah,
look at that.
Exactly. Yes.
So in terms of staying positive, how do you stay positive apart from using affirmations? What else do you do?
I think to stay positive, it's important to have clarity and a logical outlook on everything that's going on in your life, and taking a step back and analysing. So I think something that really helped me, you know, is staying sober is actually really good. So, you know, cutting out smoking weed, cutting out drinking for a while if you feel like your head's really foggy, and just kind of assessing everything from a clarity perspective really helps.
Stepping away from secondary
influences. Yeah, absolutely. That is really important, especially if you're in a rut. And also, you know, you have to have your basic health. You have to be eating well, get some exercise. I was never really somebody who exercised, but I started doing that quite recently, and already, you know, I feel the impact on my mental state, not just physically how it feels good, but, you know, mentally it's so important. And just surrounding yourself with people whose energies that you feed off. Yeah. And I realized that quite recently, that is one of the most important things. You have to be positive within yourself, but if you're surrounding yourself with people that, you know, when you're around them, their energy doesn't lift you up to, you know, the sky, you're really not gonna feel great.
You kind of become your surroundings.
You do. You absolutely become. You're like a sponge, and you absorb everything around you. And so it's so important to surround yourself with good energies.
Definitely. That's very important.
Yeah.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes because when you become friends with people, they're your friends.
Yes.
You know, and to be able to fight that, they're my friend, but wait a minute, I need to do what's best for me. It's a grey area.
Yeah,
like, it's hard.
It is. And you need people that, you know, support the things that you love and support you, your individuality. You know, they're not friends with you because you mesh with them in a certain way. Like they're happy to support you through things.
Definitely.
And, you know, they're happy for you. That's very important.
Yeah. Having a strong, positive structure and support system around you, which you don't rely on, but necessarily when you hang out with them, it's just enough. Yeah. It's just enough to keep you going.
Yeah, and just on that, I struggle with this still, relying on other people for that positivity. Sometimes I find it really hard to be by myself. Yeah. And I'm still working through that right now. Like sometimes it really is hard, you know, on a Saturday night for me to just sit at home and to just do things that make myself feel nice when I'm, you know, looking on social media and I'm seeing everyone else having so much fun.
Should I go out? Should I go out?
Yeah,
exactly. I get it.
But that is also so important. I think to stay positive, you need to be able to have that alone time and to be really kind of assured within yourself with that too.
Definitely.
So that's part of the balance.
Yep, yeah. I completely align with that. Because it's hard, like coming from that techno era, having that FOMO. Yeah. You know, it's like, you see all these people going out and it's like, you know, it makes you just think that that's what you need. Yeah. When in reality, it's not the truth.
No, it's not. No. Yeah. There's so many things you can do.
So going back to your job, what is the hardest thing about working at Fresh? Like what's the hardest thing working?
I think, other than getting up early in the morning.
Having that morning shift, 5:30 a.m. Tell me about it.
I think trying to live up to the standards. You know, I want to be a good news presenter, and, you know, all of the girls, you know, that do it are great. Yeah. You know, everybody is so good, and I just want to be able to live up to that standard. Yeah. And because I haven't been on air yet, I think I'm a little bit nervous about that. I know, you know, once I'm there, I think I'll be okay. But it's wanting to do, because you just love the community of people so much. It's just wanting to do the best for them. Yes. As well as for yourself. Yeah. I think that's probably the hardest part, but also the most rewarding. Oh, for sure. I still remember my first time on air, and I stuffed up. Instead of saying, what was it? What road was it? There was this wrong road name?
Yeah, well, it wasn't the wrong road. I said, it was something like it was Dick something. I said Dick on air. It was so bad because I was, you know, it was my first time. I was ready to go, and I forgot the street name, but I said Dick. And I was like, Dick. And then I stopped and I looked at Andrew and I looked at Kale and Zane was in the room horrified. Everyone was like, what is she doing? And, but you live and learn, right? Those are the memories. It's great.
Not the end.
It's not the end. And afterwards they were all laughing. Like for the next 15 minutes off air, we were just laughing. And they all started telling me their stories. Someone, instead of St. Peter's, someone said St. Penis. It happens. It happens. And
that's what I mean. Such a supportive, beautiful community, you know.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's good. So I completely get that. So being able to live up to that, make everyone happy as well as building the
and be happy with it yourself as well. You know, I'm pretty judgmental on myself. We're always our worst critic. So I think I'm never really happy with, like 100% happy with everything I do. Yeah. But that's also something that, you know, we need to learn to just kind of get used to.
Yeah. Well, okay, so stepping forward, who inspires you? Who are your inspirations?
This is a hard one because I've never actually really completely thought about it.
Yeah.
But I think in a general sense, artists and creatives are my inspiration, as particularly ones that aren't afraid to just bring something completely new and individual to the table.
Yeah.
When I say things like that, a couple that come to mind, there's a manga artist, Junji Ito, who I've really liked for quite a few years now. He does horror manga illustrations, and they are some really weird.
What does that look like?
Amazing. It's horrific and it's very detailed, and he's incredibly good. And his concepts are just so unique.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of horror is a whole genre, and a lot of it's pretty much all been done. But then when I stumbled across his artwork and his stories, I thought, you know, this is someone who is really just doing this for himself and to bring something new to the table. It's the same with one of my favorite directors, David Lynch. He's a really big inspiration because I found when I started watching his movies, it was just this whole different feeling than, you know, any other films that I had watched before. And I just went, you know, I would love to do something like that because it's really just, this is a man who's just gone, this is something that's inside of me and I'm not afraid to put it out there.
Definitely. It's like kind of taking two ideas, because let's be real, everything's been done before.
Yeah.
But even when it hasn't been done, people take elements of things and they mash it together and they make it their own.
Yeah.
So to being able to keep that natural, that unique authorship over your own work, it's hard to find. Like, it's hard to find. Yeah.
And you know, making films or releasing, you know, manga or, you know, whatever you're doing creatively, you want to have an audience and you want to have a market, and, you know, you want to get attention for it, and it's easy to slip into doing things for that reason. And I think I'm really inspired by these people because they've never fallen into that. They've always done things the way that they want to do things be unique and individual, and it's just gained traction because of that incredible kind of aura that it, you know, radiates.
It's just sucked you in, it's making you strong.
Absolutely.
And, that's awesome, Tanisha. Well, so in terms of fitness, how do you keep healthy? Because you mentioned before that you've started your fitness routine. What do you do?
I actually started at KX Pilates, which I was very scared because I was terrible. I never worked out. I just kind of thought, you know, I'm not unhealthy, so I don't really need to exercise, you know. But the way that you feel after you've actually started getting into that routine is so much better, and I cannot believe I didn't do this before.
That's so interesting. Because I remember the day I tried it was the day you started.
We both tried Pilates on the same day.
Crazy.
Completely accidental.
It was so fun.
It was awesome.
It was so good.
And I loved it. It killed me. I was sore for about 3 days after. But I'm now doing it every second day. And I just can feel myself, you know, in my mind I feel better. You get that kind of that runner's high after. You know, in my body I feel stronger. That's amazing. I'm eating better because when you're in an exercise routine, you feel hungry, and then you actually want to eat foods that are good for you. You don't feel like going to Macca's after Pilates because you know you want to go get something good. So it started making me eat better as well, which is also so important. If you're not, you know, fueling yourself with good foods, you're not going to be performing, you know, at your optimum. You're not going to be thinking at your optimum.
You need those natural ingredients.
Absolutely.
No artificial flavors.
No, it's like a triangle, like a pyramid, and you need like those base health things for yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing, Tanisha. So how do you feel about SA's coronavirus situation? How have you been impacted?
I think I was very fortunate that I was still able to go to work because I work in a law firm, and we're only probably, it was only about 2 of us in the office at the time. We did have to cut back on how many people were in the office, but I was very fortunate that I was still able to work. So in that sense, it did not impact me that much. But I do wish dancing was back.
Oh my God.
I do really miss dancing. I have seen that petition floating around, bring back dancing.
Get on it, guys.
I do, when I'm seeing, people packing out trams and trains shoulder to shoulder, but then we can't dance. It's kind of like, I do feel like they need to kind of assess their position there a little bit. They've handled it so well. We're really fortunate here that we've been very sheltered from it quite a bit. We did have that scary lockdown, which only lasted 3 days as well, because everyone just did so well. But I think it's a scary thing, and I think we're so fortunate to have been sheltered from it. Yeah.
I'm definitely feeling the Footloose movie at this point in time.
Yeah.
When the band dancing and we're all trying to, home parties. It's good because it gives the good old home party a position again though. Like
it's true.
Backyard parties have been, pretty fun to be able to sit out, chill and saving money, but at the same time, we need to get out there and we need to support our economy.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing is small businesses are so important, and they make up so much of South Australia. South Australia, we're local, we support local. It's so important. And unfortunately, so many of those have just kind of, it's taken its toll on them, and which is, so great with what you're doing.
It's been a pleasure working with so many businesses to be able to get their story on the camera, to be able to express, hey guys, look at this beautiful place. It's only 15 minutes or however far it is from your place. Go. Like, you don't have to
look at the amazing people that work here or own it, or that would be just so helped by you just spending a couple of dollars going to visit.
One coffee a day, $3. You know what I mean? It's just go there, have a nice friendly conversation, because I feel like that's a very important thing for us as human beings to have, to be able to be surrounded by others and to just learn and, come across things that you don't understand and to be able to form new ideas. You know what I mean? Over a simple coffee.
It's the only way to grow. Really. Like, that's the whole thing. If you're not keeping open mind and you're not willing to go out and meet new people, it's like you're never really going to develop, you
become kind of just closed off.
Shelled. So,
well, moving a little bit onwards, focusing on the mind, how do you deal with difficult situations in terms of perspectives? So let's say you're in a situation and you might not necessarily agree with someone or vice versa. How do you stay you?
It's important to, there's emotion and then there's logic, and I think a lot of the time emotion has to take a back seat. A lot of, if you're sometimes you'll be being in like a toxic relationship or a toxic friendship, or a lot of the time emotion does cloud our judgment, and that's when we fall victim. Particularly in probably the last year, I've had to really kind of start assessing things really just logically. And that's really helped, even, getting into an argument with someone, whether it's about politics or whatever, it's so important to just, always be respectful to people, always respect people's opinions, but, don't let emotion just completely cloud everything, because that's kind of when it does become a bit selfish.
It kind of becomes a bit subconscious, doesn't it? It kind of, because when obviously everybody experiences different things, we all come from different experiences, and some people might not have had the same experiences.
Exactly. And I think keeping in mind when it's something relating to you and your own life situation, sometimes your emotions do get the better of you, and it can impact you really negatively. And you could have your friends telling you this is what's best for you, but until you really take a back seat with that and look at it from that perspective, you're not going to listen to other people. So I think it's really important to assess things from that point of view.
Definitely. It's especially with our generation, is hard.
Yeah.
It is very hard because, you know, we haven't lived through wars. We have, you know, we've had it pretty lucky.
Yeah, we have.
And
We're
to be
very
able
fortunate.
and to be able to be grateful, as well as keep up to date with politics and keep up to date with self-work and, you know, having a good, healthy balance of friends, family, everything, making sure everything's workable.
First of all, it's really important to assess things from a logical and objective perspective and let emotions take a back seat, especially when so much of what we see is emotion driven. A lot of the media we consume targets, you know, that about us, and a lot of us are, you know, vulnerable and susceptible to that. I think it's really important to stay true to your beliefs and let emotion take a back seat, you know, whether that be navigating through a toxic relationship that's not good for you, or friends that maybe aren't the best for you. Your emotions will tell you what's comfortable, but in order to actually have proper self-growth, you need to be objective, and you need to let that take a back seat. You know, even talking politics with somebody, it is so important to just be respectful and objective, and not let emotion cloud your judgment.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, because it gets hard sometimes, because when you get very, let's say, fired up, or, you know, something's happened and you're talking to someone and they just don't understand, it gets hard, because every sentence, or, you know, everything that happens after in that conversation, you stay within that mindset, and you will not open up to anything that they say. Like, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be able to be the master of your own mind, sometimes it's easier to be comfortable and to just think this is the right way, go to the highway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know? And you need to be, you know, sure of your true beliefs, but then you also really need to listen to what's going on around you. And I think a lot of us don't listen. And we don't, you know, you'll almost listen to reply and not to understand. So I think that's a really big thing.
Always listening.
Yeah.
Big one. Yes. Yeah. Massive one. And even listening, it's hard sometimes, because you have your mind, and depending on how, you know, as simple as how your week's gone, or that kind of thing, you become so fogged up that the present doesn't stay present. And I feel politically as well, that's a major problem.
Yeah, they both kind of tie into each other.
Your
own relationships, or just your political views, are just, you know, because that has become so prominent today as well. We're living in an era where everybody has become involved and engrossed in politics, because it is everything we see, but so little of us actually have, you know, the information or the education to be talking about it. And, you know, there's so many things that I don't know, and I don't sit here acting like I know everything either, because I know that there's so much that I still have to learn. But we're in a very weird era where so many people have become involved in something that is not actually that known about for a lot of people.
Beyond us, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's not even about the right or left anymore. Like, focusing on, you know, timeliness of politics, American politics, you know, the country which is the leader of the free world, in a sense, you know, everything that comes out of there, from music, fashion, we love it. We love films. We love everything that comes out of America, you know, and it's crazy, because we're seeing this, and we're growing through this time where there's right and left just at each other's throats.
It's terrible. There's such a huge divide.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be like that. You know, I should be able to tell somebody, this is what I think, and you know, for us to be able to have a respectful conversation, I would always love to listen to a completely opposite opinion to mine, because I do think that I can learn from that too. Even if I don't agree, I think I can still learn from it, which I think a lot of people should have that mindset. I think it's wrong to be so divisive about it, and I think it does cause a huge distraction to the things that really matter, that are going on in today's society.
Distractions, big distractions. That's very relevant. And, you know, us being, you know, so young, and this not knowing, you know, we've got so much left to learn, and not being able to travel or anything at the moment. We can't see places, and we don't know what's actually happening. We're only told, you know, us being in the media, actually giving the public information, we get it firsthand. Of how hard it is to, you know, keep a story balanced, and, you know, having that non-biased, as well as making sure the facts stay the facts. But in reality, it's like, does it really matter? Doesn't matter what we're reporting on, it's difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we got so caught up in what we call filter bubbles.
Yeah.
Where, even with social media, you curate what you want to see. We'll follow things that we like and things that we believe. And because of that, you just naturally put yourself in a filter bubble and you don't see things outside of it. And so I've always tried to be really, really open-minded. If I've just received, something from the right, I'll go and look at what the left have to say. It's just, and that's what being objective is.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
Definitely. You've got to cover all aspects, because there's, with a story, there's always two sides, right? There's always, and at the end of the day, if we can construct an amazing, not even amazing, but even a simple way in any conversation, if we both disagree on something, it's always the outcome. It's the idea. Okay, this is it. This is how do we improve? How are we going to get over this? And staying comfortable and staying in that place where, this is the only way of, you do this and don't do that.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to the answer.
And it is so easy to be swayed, especially if you're someone who's conservative, and people might not necessarily agree with your views. It is really, really hard to stay true to yourself, because, we all just want to feel accepted.
Yeah.
And sometimes, again, with the emotions, that overshadows, what's real and what you really believe. And then you don't really stay true to yourself. And so I think that's a really big thing that we're all navigating. I'm navigating that too.
It's hard to be categorized, and that's when the labels come in. If you even slightly lean more one way or another, this is you are that person, you are that, which is
and I think the labels are really silly, because I just see myself as me, and I try and just hold values that I think are best, basically. Yeah.
So intertwining with your religious side of things. What's it like? What is your religious values? Like, what's that like to balance?
So I come from a family, we're Greek Orthodox, and I think I've always been religious, obviously growing up in a household like that, but religion for me really did kind of take a back seat the past few years, in high school, especially when so many people really disregard it. It's really easy to just fall into that as well. I felt almost a little bit embarrassed to tell people that I believed in God. For a while, people would ask me, are you religious? Do you believe in anything? And I felt like I would have to explain myself. I believe in God, but it's because of this and it's because my family, and I don't really, believe in it that much. And I realized quite recently, like, that is so wrong, because if you believe in something, you have to hold true to that, and you have to be proud of that. And I feel like that for a lot of people is maybe the reason why they kind of lean away from it, is because they don't want to sound crazy. And it's really easy to dismiss these concepts that we can't see and we can't, completely know about as crazy. But I actually met somebody who studied to be a minister, and they asked me, I didn't know that this person was religious or studied to be a minister, and they asked me, are you religious? And they just found so much humor in watching me fumble over trying to explain why I believe the things I do. And when they told me that, I really just realized, that is so silly. Like, you should have absolutely no shame in believing something that other people think is silly or think is not real. I think it makes you a much stronger person, not insane, if anything.
So it's, in a sense, it's keeping your intuition alive. It's
absolutely.
It's it's as much as simple as Christianity or following the 10 Commandments, all that kind of thing. It's just a little structure or a way of life, what keeps you sane. And sometimes not many people understand that. It's kind of like you enter a realm where it's like a Pandora's box. As soon as you open that box and it's got, you've got God in there, or you've got superstition, or you've got things that you can't explain. I think the best way to kind of, it's intuition. You turn a corner and it's a dark alley. You're not sure if you want to go down it, and you don't, and you just turn around. And some people won't understand that. They'll be like, why didn't you just go down it? But it's
what feels right and what feels true. And a lot of people want you when I say I believe in God, they want you to explain things.
Mm.
Well, why do you believe in God? Why do these terrible things in the world exist if something like that exists?
Mm.
And, that's not up to me it's not up to us to know everything. We need to accept that we're never going to know everything. You should just stay true to yourself. And I think even with manifesting, which is something so important, I found recently through, hard relationships and hardships that I was going through, I found that God was something that I turned to because, I felt like I had nothing else, so I would just pray. And that in itself actually kind of helped me get to the place that I needed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
It's great. I love it. So wrapping this amazing podcast up, if there's any advice that you could give to people struggling at the moment, what would you say to them?
I would say take a step back, try and look at things from a logical perspective, because you might be struggling because of something emotional that is clouding your judgment. I think listen, really, it's something you told me, a while ago. You have to listen, you have to observe. That is really important. And you should always be manifesting the things that you want. That is, don't underestimate the power of manifesting and thinking in the direction that you want to go, because mindset really is everything. And stay true to yourself. Don't go against the grain. Don't do things just because everyone else is and you want to feel comfortable. The right people will accept you exactly as you are. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This is it. I am so excited for everyone to see this. Thank you so much, Tanisha. Get on it, guys. Tanisha Kirk. She's amazing. Tune into Fresh 92.7 to hear this one.
Oh yeah, tune into Fresh 92.7. No, thank you so much for having me on here. It's been great. It's been a great chat.
Thank you. Well, thanks, guys.